Historical Hot or Not.
Hello and welcome to Historical Hot or Not, the podcast that has in 24 months sent more filthy history-based content into the ether than the UK sent convicts to Australia in 80 years of criminal deportation. I am Aidan McCaffrey. I am not a historian, and this is...
Catherine Mather, and I'm also not a historian, but we are comedians and we are horny for history. And today we are joined by another horny comedian. It's John Robertson. Hello.
Hey, yes. I regret to inform you that I have now moved into asexuality. So history only history. And cake.
Well,
that's the other thing that demographic seems to enjoy. Yes.
Well, we are fucked then.
No, you're not. You've misunderstood the point. No, I remain as always horny, consistently so.
Yeah, horny for knowledge.
Yes, certainly. Usually the learning of new terms and conditions. Yes, absolutely, yes.
Horny for yesterday's law. That's like the only real requirement
Yes,
that we have.
Yes, every time I'm about to ejaculate, I scream, they should bring back hanging. I've always...
I meant law. I meant L-O-R-E. But I do like how it accidentally forced you to reveal something dark.
My apologies. My apologies. I meant to say that every time I ejaculate, I say, Brent Spiner was so good as Data's evil brother.
Nice, you turned it back on me. I absolutely love it.
To be fair, hanging, weirdly pertinent to this episode.
Oh, goody!
No spoilers.
Oh,
but,
yay! Is it the Michael Hutchence episode? The David Carradine best of autoerotic asphyxiation? Oh, I've come to the right place.
We saved the asphyxiant stuff for the subscribers, the paid subscribers, unfortunately. But maybe we can get you back to those. Historical Hot or Not. I like to feel like all our episodes are after dark, Kath.
Yeah, we do record them post midnight.
Yes.
It's odd. It's really inconvenient, but...
Yeah. In fact, my knowledge of history is such that as far as I know, AD means after dark. So that's fine.
Yes.
Nice.
Good.
And BC?
Before Clementine. She's a nice lady, hangs out. Once Clementine goes by, it's usually after dark by that point.
Yeah.
Straight Clementine. That was a fucking reach, and I'm on my own. Ridiculous. Christ, art doesn't thrive in a vacuum. Oh, well.
So, John, we were talking about your show, Darkroom, which, in the context of this this podcast, takes on a slightly sexual undertone, but it isn't. It's not like that. And we were just giving you compliments on it and stuff.
Oh, thank you.
And then we were like, no, I'm going to hold on to the compliments. Quickly, Aidan, press record so that we can tell the people about Darkroom. How long have you been performing it? Because I remember seeing it at the Good Ship in Kilburn. I used to work on the door there.
And
there was about 40 Norwegian students.
Yes. And that gig was in 2016.
Was it?
I remember that gig, yes. I've been doing the Darkroom for 12 years, so I've been doing it since 2012. Shit. And just touring. And we get a lot of people from around the world. Those young Viking children really enjoyed themselves. They liked to see... Oh, they were great. They liked being screamed at by a man with peroxided shoulder-length hair. It reminded them of home. You know, like all I needed was a drum and a longboat, and they would have been just, beside themselves. And the monks of Lindisfarne could have cowered in fear. But yeah, like we go everywhere, we do everything. We just did a nice thing where I, for years, had been saying that the Darkroom should do more rock festivals. Now, last year we did Glastonbury last year in their cabaret tent, and cabaret is a sort of insulator the second that term is used because no bastard shows up. I started 5 minutes after Elton John had finished his last ever English show, and by the time we were done, we had an audience and we had a really great time. But this year, we headlined the Comedy at Download Festival. So we had 4,000 metalheads, some of whom hadn't seen the show, a great mass of whom who had come right up to the front were all fans of mine, which was eye-opening, because they started doing the "You die" chants of their own volition, which makes you feel $1 million when essentially you're just a silly man in a dumb Mad Max inspired outfit, jumping around, shouting obscenities. Like a real.
Well, this brings us to. Can you describe to our listeners what Darkroom is? Because some people may not be familiar with what the format is.
Certainly, yeah. I mean, it's a live action video game, so you come in and the lights go dark, and then an animation plays where you watch, your anxiety load. And then I appear, rendered in much taller by colossal boots and an outfit that lights up and is covered with very real, very dangerous metal spikes. And you turn to the crowd and just announce, "You awake to find yourself in a dark room." 4 options appear on the screen behind me. People call out the options that they want. And we go on this really high energy, high octane, interactive romp. And then if people win, they get money. It happens very rarely. And if people die, which happens constantly, they get terrible prizes. And then it's just become a thing that people really get involved in and hoe in on.
And people do get involved in this. So we were saying before the pod, Kath dragged me to your show. She's like, "Aidan, you'll really like this. I've seen it several times." I did really enjoy it, but I was quite alarmed because that thing you mentioned, that you die. You're watching the show, and then you say you die, I think, and then half the room just started chanting, "You die, you die, you die." Yep. And I genuinely thought Kath had dragged me to a cult. It was one of those terrifying moments in my life, but a great bit of comedy. I liked it.
Well,
in many ways, I had.
Yes, you had. The only difference
of John Robertson.
Well, the only difference is we don't get the tax breaks that cults get. Yeah, but and I don't have any desire for anyone to live at my compound. It's very important. I had to explain that during lockdown, which was great because people were going, "John, are we in a cult?" I was like, "Well, none of you live with me, and you're never going to, so no." Yeah.
Just close the gates.
Yeah, exactly. Look.
Now get off my lawn.
Yeah, the FBI are never coming down. They'll never be. More wanko than Waco would be the John Robertson story.
You've got the swastika tattoos on your face anyway, just in case you want it to be a cult.
Well, I'm so pleased that was mentioned, and obviously no video going out there. I do apologise there to the listener. I've forgotten to put on my my makeup that makes me appear to be more moderate. It was good of Catherine there just to point out my anti-Semitic face decorations. What are you doing? Jesus Christ! That's so full on. It took me half a second to be like, "Oh, Charles Manson. Oh, that's what you're saying."
Yes. I wasn't just randomly accusing you of being anti-Semite for no reason at all. Absolutely.
You do that to all our guests, Kath. You know that.
I do, and some of them lean into it. And
well, yes, I mean, usually to the right. Yeah.
Heyo.
Hello. Well, I mean, let's put it this way. I've worked in gaming for a fair old while, and there's real money for those deeply unhappy old men to turn to other deeply unhappy young men and go, "I'll tell you who's the reason you can't get your penis touched. It's not you because you keep wearing a shirt that says 'Kill the bitches, I hate them.' No, it's people who aren't like you." Dreadful. Anyway,
my goodness, of course.
You can usually spot these people because they get really offended by the game Wolfenstein. It's so woke. They're shooting Nazis. How dare you? Magical.
You have that gun in Wolfenstein where it just I've not played. I played the first one.
Yeah,
it just mashes people into pulp.
Yes. Yes.
That's why I liked that game, and I don't remember anything else about it. Just mashing
Nazis into pulp. Well, you don't really have to remember much else. I think that's my grandfather's memory of the Second World War.
Of his childhood too.
Well, what did you get up to from 1939 to 1945? I was mashing Nazis into pulp. It was fantastic. And when I came home, curiously, girls wanted to touch my penis. So there you go.
Yeah,
and therefore he had to ration it because there was too many willing to touch it. And that ration didn't end for 10 years. That's how well all those lads did out of this.
Yeah, good on him.
Cut to the baby boom. Anyway, is the dark room, John? Is the dark room something that you've developed entirely in England, or was it something you did in Australia? Is it something you've taken back to Australia? What's the timeline on that?
Well, there was one initial performance in Australia where I was doing a show that I had taken to the Edinburgh Fringe. It was called Dragon Punch, and it was just one long shaggy dog story about watching my father-in-law try to punch his brother at a barbecue with some facts about video games in the middle of it. And, you know, having done it for free at the Edinburgh Fringe, world's largest arts festival, you know, audiences pretty canny, pretty savvy, pretty riotous. They'll do whatever they feel with it. I had underestimated how raucous a crowd of anime fans from my hometown would be. So when I did it at the Riverside Theatre in Perth, Western Australia, at the beautiful old anime convention Wycon, people started heckling the show, and it got a bit bogged down in me dealing with that. And then I just started doing this 5-minute routine I had about how crap video games were in the 80s. And that audience found a new thing to channel their energy into, which was playing a game that didn't exist. So that became another 45 minutes. And then I went home, and some friends went, "Oh, you should really make that a YouTube thing." So I made a little clickable YouTube adventure, and that went viral in a very 2012 way, which was like the next day I woke up and discovered that I was on the news in America, but I didn't manage to make any money at all. And
Perfect.
Then another
Living
friend
the
went,
dream.
it was pretty good though. Like I got interviewed by Canal Plus, you know, like a French journalist. And the difference was that in America, it was getting covered by like funny news of the week. What's all this happening here? And then in France, this guy sits across from me and goes, "Mr. Robertson, tell us about sadism." And that's the first question of the interview. Like, well, you know, we had a great time, and it's the first time that very French noise came out of my mouth. Just, yeah. And then I went to the Edinburgh Fringe because another friend said, "Look, we can this made up game. We can make you a framework where you can just actually have it projected behind you. So why don't you go do that?" So I went, "All right." And he was much smarter than me because it turned out, yeah, that really works. People love having something to play with. And then as the years have gone by, it's grown and grown and grown. It grows with every audience. And we just have a nice time. Like you've encountered the you die chance, which is beautiful. What the way that you really know there are hardcore people in there is when you hear very aggressive whisperings of "Soggy Bob, Soggy Bob, Soggy Bob." Yeah.
I mean, what the hell is Soggy Bob? Or is that something you'd rather say for the live?
Oh well, he's in the Dark Lighthouse, which is an unlockable extra game, and he is my appalling lighthouse keeping companion, and he's very popular.
Yes.
I think we might have actually met Soggy Bob
Yep.
when we went to see the show, but we were also extremely drunk, and
Yes.
that could be why.
Yeah, we get a fair amount of that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still shell-shocked from the experience, which is why I can't really remember Soggy Bob. What's the most number of people you performed it in front of? So you started with your 12 anime people in Perth.
Oh, well,
I did see a photograph of you in a pretty massive theatre, and I feel like the size of your performance means you could probably just keep getting bigger, and it would probably still work.
I got to say, you've severely underestimated the popularity of anime in Perth because that was 3,000 people. That was
right. Sorry.
No, that's okay. They didn't all come back, but yeah, I think like somebody asked after we just did download because they're like, that tent has 4,000 people and it was rammed, so that's 4,000. Is that the biggest? I'm like, I think it probably is. But online during the pandemic, when we were doing the 48-hour marathon shows, we did one show that I think ended up being seen by about, it was 250,000 people came by,
Nice.
which was pretty good. And then of that, you know, some high tens of thousands of people played, which was a fascinating thing to do. But yeah, I've done the show to, you know, like, God, audiences of well, the smallest audience was 3, you know, and that was the TV critic Bruce Dessau's house. That was great.
Yeah.
His daughter came up. Yeah. He went, yeah, come on, show it to me. If it's good, I'll write a preview. And I did it, And literally, I felt like I just invaded this nice man's home. Because he's just on the couch with his wife and child, and I'm just screaming at them. And we had to put the projections on the TV. So it just looked like a mad bloke had burst into the house. And there was me like, look at the fucking news, Bruce. Look at that. And like his daughter came up to me years ago to be like, oh, wow, yeah, you. And she was like, John, you were in my house. Is how she began it, which I was like, that's a strong start. Who are you? What was I doing?
I was 12 and you were in my house. This is not how it looked. A dad was TV critic.
Stay back. Yes. I was working for Amazon. I was dropping off toys. Yeah, the working conditions are horrifying. Anyway, yeah. So it can go. It can go to as large a crowd as you like. We could do it like. A stadium would be nice. That'd be fun.
Royal Albert Hall. You die, echoing out that thing.
Bam! Well, I mean, I've gone down to the Royal Albert Hall, and I went there to see Nick Cave, and I feel almost no embarrassment saying this. I sat there and I went, yeah, I could do this. This would be fun.
I think you could.
Well, yeah, I was a bit like, oh yeah, maybe if we could put it in the middle, that'd be good. We could do it in the round, would be kind of exciting. But yeah, up on the stage, big projection behind, and thank you, Catherine, for your vote of confidence. Like maybe a scooter and some ladders to get to the people at the back. I think we'd enjoy ourselves.
No, I think I'm getting more Segway vibes than scooter.
Yeah, but that killed its creator, and I'm such a yeah. I'm such a sucker for irony. I would hate that.
How did they die?
He rode his Segway accidentally off a cliff. So there you go.
Oh, that's the best news I've had all day.
Yeah, and it took his swastika tattoos with him. So another one down.
Yay!
Yeah.
How could Darkroom ironically kill you? Like maybe you get killed by some seedy lighthouse keeper or something.
In a dark room.
Yeah, straight up. Well, I mean, I know full well that there's a very real chance that when I die and my funeral happens and out goes the coffin, there's a very real chance that the people who've assembled will point at the coffin and scream, you died.
You died.
Yeah.
And Kath and I will be right at the front, enjoying every second of it.
And then leave.
What on earth makes you think you scum will get tickets? I barely know you.
No,
it'll be a state funeral. You know that. It'll be a state funeral.
No, it bloody won't. There's no respect for me in Australia. I'm holding on by a thread with immigration here. It'll be a funeral in which people are in a state, but no.
You do also do other things that are not the dark room. If you'd like to perhaps mention those to the good people at home as well, and then we should probably get cracking on with the episode, shouldn't we?
Well,
really?
thank you very much. Yes, I'm a children's novelist. For all of this undercurrent of filth, I wrote an obscenely violent kids book called The Little Town of Marrowville. That's marrow like bone marrow, and that was published by Puffin. A very heartfelt, beautiful, funny little romp. They thought that they'd gotten the next Roald Dahl, and as it turned out, probably, but sort of more of a Mervyn Peake, brutally homicidal, and we got a nice review from Starburst magazine where they said that it reminded them of Roald Dahl and H.P. Lovecraft, and then we've stopped the quote there on the back cover because the rest of the quote finishes with "but without the racism of either man," which
and you're like, no, we have the racism.
Oh well, I mean, if you don't have that, then old white men won't buy it.
Well, no.
Well, I mean, the ones who are on Twitter will claim that they won't, but God, yeah. So, sorry.
Has it got the sort of a similar vibe to The Boy Who Kicked Pigs?
Yes,
Tom
yes,
Baker
it does.
one?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. It is obscenely violent. Because kids love that. The main meeting I had with Puffin was wonderful. And bearing in mind, I met everybody at Puffin that day in the London office.
Even the little bird.
Yeah.
Was he there?
Yeah, he was there. He was there. He was on Zoom.
He greets you.
Well, no. How dare you? Just because he's dressed as a butler doesn't mean that's what he does. Yeah, he was coming in, from the coast. Very important. He had some fish to catch that day. But yeah, what they did was they went, John, look, we have read your story to our children. They find the part where the children eat their father hysterically funny. Please edit it so that it is less funny. We are very concerned about the American market. So that was good. Yeah. So I edited it so the kids were mildly grossed out by what they were doing. And as it turns out, that's like, I get little girls will come up to me occasionally if I'm signing books and be like, I loved your book, it's this. And they always have a father who has no idea what they bought their child. And you just see a dad in real time go, they what? They eat their dad? What? It's like, well, the father is also violently abusive. So unless you've done that, you've got nothing to fear, sir. So
have you?
Have you?
Asking you to make it so the kids find it less funny and more horrifying that they're eating their dad. It's like basically saying, this kid's book, can you make it a bit more like Society of the Snow? That's kind of the direction you want this to go in.
Well, it was like they were saying, please do something so that adults feel better while reading this, because it's got nothing to do with children. Children are wonderful creatures who are, boundless in imagination and enthusiasm as long as you treat them well, right? And violence to a kid is so funny when it's not actually happening, right, to them. It's hilarious. And if it has happened to them, it can be a release when you read it. It can be a real, oh yeah, the bad guy's really getting it. Yeah, because that's one thing that happens in the book. The children are scared. They are menaced. There's a moment at the end where, it looks like they're in extreme physical peril. But my God, I mean, the first thing that happens is their father's fed into a meat grinder and his guts spill everywhere. And then the next chapter they eat him, right? Bad people come to appalling ends in my book. It's lovely. It's moral in that way.
Well, there are two Joe Pesci films released in 1990. One of them is Goodfellas, very violent and the greatest film ever made, in my humble opinion. And the other is a more violent film, which kids love, which is Home Alone.
Yep.
There's absolutely the scale. But when I was a kid, it was just, we were all obsessed with it because it's like, and then he throws a brick in his face and his head gets set on fire by a blowtorch. We loved it as kids, and kids love it now.
That's true. Yeah, well, because it's not real. Like, children love cartoons. They still love cartoons. When I was a kid, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck were forever taking rifles and shooting each other in the face. And it was hysterical because it didn't kill them.
Yeah, and Home Alone didn't set off a wave of scalp scorchings among the preschoolers of America and England. So we did okay about it.
Yeah, I mean they did edit out the line where I said that it was that was it. It was like a rope of muscle shot through the air. They got rid of that. They thought that was too sort of visceral.
The line.
A rope of muscle.
Yeah, something like that. It was just they were like, nah, we don't need it to be sort of physically accurate. We'd rather that people sort of become more of a indescribable gelatinous goo rather than you there going, well, at that point his lower dorsal ventricle, the canines were going right through it or something,
His woke censorship gone mad. In each episode of Historical Hot or Not, Kath and I pitch to the other, and indeed the guest, a historical figure from history. We will look at a portrait or a photograph of them, and or just a drawing and etching, maybe even a painting on a cave wall. And we will decide whether or not that person is aesthetically hot. Then we will look at their personality, the great or bad things they did in their lifetime, and at the end we will assess whether or not this person is hot enough to get on the bio tap batistry. And if not, we'll just ghost them forever. Does that sound good, John?
It sounds like it's what we're doing.
It is. You're quite right.
Sounds like it's happening. That's what it sounds like.
So, if you would like to open up your eTrust dating app, I am going to say that's the Facebook Messenger group that we.
Right, okay. Thank you.
The eTrust dating app. I will send you a picture of our potential suitor today. His name is Ned. He is 25 years old, and he's from Beveridge. And from your face, John, I think you know who he is.
I knew it before. Before he'd even appeared, the second those 3 letters, I was like, and now the reason for the booking makes itself apparent. Fine.
Well, no, we were actually going to talk to you about a Yorkshire lesbian, and then I was like, no, do you know what?
That's most of my friends. I know her. Where is she on the spectrum? This literally combines everyone I know.
But I thought, fuck it. No, I've been to where this guy died, and I have quite a good story about the gift shop. So
yes.
I guess
whatever the grave needs.
Yeah. So I mean, John, you're our guest. Do you want to just describe? This is obviously an audio format. Describe what we're looking at here. Is it a yes? Is it a no?
Well, what we have at the moment, so far, I mean, it's a phenomenal head of hair, both above the eyebrows and below. He has somehow managed to achieve nearly a pompadour in look, and the sort of beard that you find on lumberjacks and baristas and men who run axe throwing concerns, which are essentially just lumberjack baristas. He's looking off into the distance in what could be seen as a faintly musing philosophical way as he thinks about potentially liberating some money to feed the poor, or perhaps more realistically knocking over some old woman and taking some coin for grog. But yeah, I mean, he's a good looking sort. I mean, I've also seen what he looks like under the hair, and not altogether an unhandsome fellow, but at the moment, oh yes, like this guy'd turn heads in a room. Yeah, there he is. There's the there's the death mask.
Yeah.
Yeah, without the beard, not so good. He one of those men who, when you see the long, luscious facial locks, you go, is that hiding the absence of a chin? Or the prominence of a chin, or what shame do you hide beneath? Like my dad had a massive beard that made him look like Rasputin, right? And if he shaved it off, it revealed a really fetching mouth scar that made it look like he was in the mafia, or he had tried to rob Kevin McAllister's house. So, yeah, he looks great. He looks great.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ned, straight to my bed.
It reminds me actually of when you see pictures of young Stalin, and he actually has quite a modern look. Like, this is black and white, and it's sort of quite grainy. But that's a very, very modern haircut.
It is. He's achieved things with that bit of fringe on top, hasn't he? That you wouldn't.
It's Zayn Malik.
Yeah, that's a morning's work, isn't it? Getting that.
But the beard is a lifetime's work. I think we can all agree.
It is. He's not used beard oil on that.
Yeah, your assessment, John's right. Like either an extra or someone you might expect to open a cereal cafe in Hoxton.
Yep.
Somewhere in between, very scenester, very hipster.
If he has tattoos, they're of cartoons. Yep. Or weirdly watches. That seems fairly common now. A lot of clocks.
Really?
Yeah, analog clocks. Yeah, on hipsters, people who've never looked at the time other than on a fucking iPhone, going, yes, it'll be good to have a thing with 2 hands that are permanently stuck. That'll seem significant. No, it just doesn't work, you goose.
It's stuck at 420.
Yeah.
He-Man on one arm, grandfather clock on the other. I think this is probably one of the most handsome people we've had on, I reckon, just purely based on appearance. Quite piercing eyes as well. It's not just about his hair game, which is undoubtedly strong. Like, those are very piercing eyes. I mean, you can imagine them staring, back at you out of an underwear catalogue or something.
Well, you can imagine them, staring through some holes that his bullets have pierced through someone's skull.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of reminding us the reality of the man.
Yes, we will talk about this.
We will get to the reality, yes.
He's sold as fucking Melbourne's Robin Hood. And I think, well, no, I'll save what I think about him for later. But
I look forward to it.
Well, yes, this is a bit like, I don't know. I know who this is, but I don't know much about him. But I know more about Jesse James, and I always think of them as being sort of Antipodean appease kind of thing. And Jesse James I don't like because he's sort of glamorized as a sort of like hero sticking it to the man. But when you look into it, the man is the North of America trying to enforce racial desegregation on the South. And it's like, should we be valorizing this man? It feels like he may have been the bad guy. It feels like he'd be the one in the Mitchell and Webb sketch going, am I the baddie? Am I the... Yeah. Am I the baddie empowering post-Confederate angst? Perhaps not.
Yeah, people people just seem to really like someone who can get something done, and then they'll put something good on it later. So why do we, this is just my theory. It's like, why do we admire criminals? Because honestly, I would like some money more than I have. I'd love to just go and hold up a bank and get the cash, and then to make it good, they go, and he gave it to the poor. It's like, oh, or didn't. You know, like just say that you feel disempowered in your life and you'd like to rob a fucking bank.
Yeah, I think you wanted some. Sorry, go on.
Well, I'm just saying, we've all met people who, over the course of your interaction, you've thought, I wish I had a gun. I would shoot you in the fucking face. It doesn't mean that I'm going to, but good God. And then you'll read about people who did do it, and you'll think, well, good, good, someone did, good.
We admire people with get up and go, and we don't like people who are lazy. That's what it comes down to. And criminals, say what you want about them, they've got get up and go.
They do. He's got ambition. And do you know what? If you died at 25, spoilers, you would be able to keep a good set of hair. There would be no bad photograph of you going about.
Yeah.
And, you've lived fast, you've got shit done, and you've died young.
Yep. Yeah.
Although, I mean, there is something to be said for, what did you do? Oh, we used to rob stagecoaches and banks. Oh, yeah? Why didn't you just get a fucking job? Oh, seemed easier.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, then, Ned was born sometime in December 1855 in Beveridge, the then British colony of Victoria, Australia. Ned Kelly was the third of 8 children. His father, John Red Kelly, I want one of those middle names like that. He was a transported convict from County Tipperary in Ireland. Aged 21, he'd been found guilty of stealing two pigs and sent to Hobart, Tasmania, to serve his sentence of 6 years. How'd you hide 2 pigs?
I'm so sorry to do this, but as an Australian, I feel honour bound to go. The man had stolen 2 pigs and was sent to Hobart to fuck them. There we go. Thank you. There we are. In the privacy of his own family. There we go. Now I've gotten both of the stereotypes in one place. Good.
I was going to say, are you just being mean about the women on Hobart, or are they all farmers?
Oh, it wasn't a gendered thing. I was literally saying that they were animal fuckers, and and when the livestock won't do it, their sisters will. So that's. I mean, the ongoing Tasmanian joke is, oh, hey, buddy, give me a high 6. That kind of thing. It's,
etc., etc.
Yeah, great. Oh, marvellous smile in the front row. 1 teeth between 100 people, etc., whatever. No, you get it.
And other things we say about Wales.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Our Wales is Tasmania. And when that doesn't work, New Zealand is our Tasmania. So, yeah.
Because we're all jealous that New Zealand have got nice things.
Yeah. A functioning democracy, The Hobbit, amazing.
Yeah. What more do you need?
Yeah.
So, a land that is universally beautiful and isn't just hollowed out by sun-ridden desert.
I mean, a latterly earned, but nevertheless still present respect for the Indigenous culture, respect for Islander culture in general, and a thriving cabaret scene. There we go.
I do love about Australia, one of the things is that wherever you go, it could be like Penguin Island, it could be a shoe shop. They always play in a thing being like, we just like to honour and respect our Indigenous forefathers. And you're like, how come none of them work here then?
Yep. And you've narrowed it down to the entire problem with the country. There it is.
We go.
Well, when I lived there, right, they hadn't gotten round to the bit of acknowledging the Indigenous owners in any way. So it was just the racist bit. Not the bit of, well, we regret what we did whilst making no changes whatsoever.
Yeah. So because Red was stuck in the arse end of nowhere, he moved to Victoria, finding work as a bush carpenter, or a jazzler as they're now known, in Willanderland on James Quinn's farm. I'm glad you enjoyed that one.
Yes.
Now, James Quinn had a daughter called Ellen, whom Red Kelly took a shine to, and in November 1850 the pair were married when Ellen was 18 and Red would have been about 29.
Well,
Where are we standing on that?
Well, that's unbalanced and shit. But just quietly, what a time to be alive when you could just take a shine to somebody. That's a thing that's gone away. Just to take a shine. I've loved a lot of people. I've never once taken a shine to anyone. I've thought, Christ, I want to fuck you.
The couple, Ellen and Red, after they got married in a weird age gap relationship, began gold digging. And a little while later, having made some money, they packed up their low-cut tops and subtle manipulation and moved to Beveridge, where they bought a small freehold. I've never been much of a gold digger. I think they were actually digging in the mud for gold. Anyway, their first child, Mary Jane, Teehee, well, she died at 6 months old, but that didn't discourage them, and they went on to have Annie, Ned, Margaret, James, Daniel, Catherine, and Grace in fairly quick succession.
Grace Kelly?
Yeah.
Wow, she's older than I thought she was.
The Grace Kelly.
Wow.
But alas, this idyllic
Didn't mention a black sheep brother, did she?
No, I'd keep it quiet, really, to be fair. But alas, this idyllic life of near constant pregnancy and childbirth in the arse end of nowhere, with a crushing weight of responsibility of 8 lives depending on you for survival, while you try and farm dust in a time before washing machines and iPads, wasn't as great as it sounds. The family did not prosper, and Red turned to what every man of the time period does in this situation. He turned to friend of the show, alcoholism. So the family packed up and moved a short 18-hour walk or 48-minute drive down the road to Avondale, where the children got a bit of schooling. Do you think that you could manage without, this 1800s life without turning to alcoholism? Or, I mean, I've been saying this whilst drinking a can of Amstel.
Yeah.
So, no.
Yeah, straight up no. I mean, in Australia things are so far apart, right? Like the only way I could survive a similar thing, right, is I'm thinking, oh yeah, well, Mary Shelley had to do something while Lord Byron was busy banging her husband, so she just went and invented science fiction, right? Yeah. And I'm there like, yeah, cool. What would I do whilst out there in the middle of the desert, on the dirt farm, the occasional kangaroo that you don't have a name for, going by. No alcohol, no way of doing anything, probably nothing to write anything down on. Kill the family with the gun and then turn it on yourself. I think probably start with that and go from there, I imagine.
Start with murdering everyone. I don't think there's anywhere to go
and
from
suicide
that.
And then go from there. Yeah. There we go.
I mean, it's decisive action.
Yes. But I mean, look, I don't want to sound like a lot of expats from Australia, because what I'm about to do is that what used to be fashionable among people who used to live in Australia, because now it's more fashionable to be like, oh no, Australia's great, I fucking love Australia. But I mean, confronted between rural Australia and a gun barrel, take the barrel for fuck's sake. Unless you are actually one of the farmers for whom loneliness is an actual problem, in which case, for God's sake, get on the satellite phone and call for help. But in this hypothetical, where I, as a suburban boy who really quite likes living in middle-class Oxford, no, oh my God, it's me and Kurt Cobain. There we go.
I went to a barbecue in Perth.
Oh, yes.
And there was a police officer there, which is always a good time. And he's
got the drugs.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
We had a good... No, no, he didn't. But he was telling me a story about how he'd seen a kangaroo at the roadside. He was just finishing his shift and he was going home, and he'd seen a kangaroo at the roadside that had been hit by a car. So he called it into the, I don't know, I wanted to say reverend. That's not it. The top police officer, his boss, and said...
Superintendent.
Yes, that's the one.
Yep.
Yeah, the super reverend intendant. And they were like... He's like, if you hear a gunshot in this area, it's just me, found a kangaroo, putting out of his misery. And his boss was like, no, the school run's about to start. Beat it to death with a club instead. Because that'll be less traumatic.
Yeah.
I mean, it would.
Use the lollipop lady's sign to beat the kangaroo with.
Oh, hang on. It says slow on this side. All right. This will take longer. Jesus.
Can you imagine going to school, seeing a man of the law elbow deep in blood?
It crossed
from Australia. They see that kind of thing 3 times a term.
No, but I mean, it crossed the road when the lights weren't ready. This could happen to you. Amazing. Oh, that's so good.
My wife's Australian, and she often talks about like the threat of ruse to cars. And when I'm there, and it's like you're quite for some reason I'm quite blasé about it as an Englishman. Like, oh yeah, I suppose if we hit a route, it'll be like the time I hit that badger. And she'd be like, no, because you will also die. I don't think you quite understand.
Yeah,
it's not quite this. Yeah.
You, the kangaroo, and the car will all be destroyed. Yeah, they're quite
and the family of huntsmen living inside the body. Everyone dies in this situation. No one.
Well, that's why they've got those pouches. Every single kangaroo pouch is just full of massive spiders. So once you hit one of them, they just go everywhere throughout the neighborhood. So you've done that, mate. You've really done that to other people.
They're fucking tanks, aren't they?
Yeah, ridiculous.
So, as a young boy, Ned saved another young boy from drowning in Hughes Creek, and he was given a reward by the boy's family as thanks. If your son had been stopped from drowning by another boy, and you wanted to give him a reward, what reward would you give? Or what reward would you expect, having thrown yourself into a river to save somebody?
Well, this assumes that you love your son and that this isn't a burden upon you. I would give him ownership of the boy.
As a slave. Are you tied up under there?
Yeah, you tied up under there? Where you fucking will be. You'll do what he tells you. Yes. Teach him to swim.
Yeah, first things first, please.
What would you give them?
I mean, I would assume money or something. Like, here's a tenner. Thanks for...
Here's a tenner.
Yeah, well, it's a lot if you're a kid, isn't it, a tenner?
That's also so much money at that time.
God.
That's crazy. We're counting in shillings at the time, so... and you can't just give the kid 1 shilling because then the Navy will kidnap him. So...
Well... So what he got given was a green sash.
Oh, God.
Like the Girl Guides.
Yep.
He sewed his saving a boy from drowning badge onto his Boy Scout uniform.
Yeah. I'd have thrown that cunt right back in.
Yep.
Come back when you've got cold, hard cash. a green sash. Fuck off. Anyway... I just wanted to get a tell of the room, The Kelly family became known to the authorities in 1865 when Red Kelly, learning absolutely no lessons from his past, was convicted of stealing a calf. He was sentenced to either pay £25 or do 6 months of hard labour, but there's no evidence that he actually did either of those things. That being said, a year later, he was fined for being drunk and disorderly and then promptly died from being drunk and disorderly. So he left Ned as the man of the house, aged 12.
That was... I'm so sorry to do this. It's just I've just realised what his dad's name was. And that's the start of the great Australian Western video game, Red Ned Redemption. Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you. It got what it deserved.
So here's another interesting thing. So Ned was 14 years old when he met Harry Johnson, who is better known by his alias Harry Power. And he was 35 years old.
Yeah.
He was Scottish. He was an ex-convict who had just escaped from Melbourne's Pentridge prison. And he was like, "Hey, Ellen, want me to teach your son bushcraft?" And she was like, "Sure, why not? I don't see how this could be problematic in any way at all." And so Ned became Harry's protege. Now, I know that none of us here are parents, but if you did have a kid, where would you stand on that?
Well, let's see. Hang on. This older fellow would like to teach my child some survival skills.
Yeah, he's 21 years older.
Well, let me phrase this as my mother did at the time when I was of a similar age and I had made some older friends. The big one's all right. The little one, get away from him. Were her exact words. What she asked was she went, "What do you do if you meet a strange man in the park?" And while she'd never explicitly explained to me what the stakes of this question were, I, through context clues, understood, and I told her I would clench my buttocks and run. And this pleased her sufficiently that we understood. I mean, when I was a kid, there was some genuine vetting of people who wanted to come in and sort of teach me stuff, and it worked out all right. It was actually quite instructive and good. I've had a sort of fair swathe of grandfathers and grandfather figures, in my life, and sort of informal uncles, and not one of them ever touched me due to
That's good.
Well, one, because they weren't going to, and also due to extreme bloody vigilance. But but no, if a guy shows up out of nowhere and goes, "Hello, I've actually got an alias, I'm just going to take your boy to the bush," yeah, probably not.
Had any of those uncle figures recently escaped from prison?
No. They did all work for the church, though.
I bet you would want someone resourceful to teach a kid bushcraft. Someone who escaped from prison, probably about as resourceful as they're going to get.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this is the start of a long and exciting Australian tradition of giving a white man what should have been a black man's job. If you'd like to learn something about bushcraft, perhaps the people who actually are involved with the bush might be able to assist slightly better than a man who actually had nothing to do with the bush for between 7 to 10 years. Other than to go, yes, yeah. Oh, I bloody love the bush. Love a jacaranda tree. That's not a Scottish accent, John, nevertheless. Oh, well. It's
close enough. Well done.
It is when I do it. Yeah.
A man who 10 years ago, the most skillful thing he could do was steal a loaf of bread from a London bakery, is now teaching a bushcraft course in the outback.
Would you say yay and nay? Yay or nay to your kids? Just wandering off.
Oh, I'm going to go with nay. It's a nay, and
I think yay. Kids have it too easy these days. As long as they're not staring at the bloody smartphone or the bloody tablet. I don't care who they're with, as long as they're outside.
True.
Also, not to seem overwhelmingly bitchy. This isn't aimed at anyone in particular. But a bushcraft survival course taught by someone who knows nothing about it. Well, there are no stand-up comedy courses run by people who've never achieved anything in that industry.
No.
I'm sure those people know what they're talking about. Yeah, great.
This guy that taught Ned Kelly did open mic bushcraft for 18 months before deciding he was going to charge people quite a lot of money to become a teacher in it.
Yeah.
Genuinely seen a course advertised, and it was emceeing for open mic, and it's spelt Mike. Mike.
Yes.
And I commented on it, who's open mic? And they didn't like that.
It's Michael, the host, who likes to share things.
Harry Power was arrested by the police a few months later, and Ned was accused of informing on him. And this genuinely wasn't true. It was his uncle, not the one that had tried to kill them all, a different uncle.
Right.
And he was awarded £500 for his trouble. But Power, that's a lot of money, right? But Power always believed that Ned turned him in, which I thought that's kind of sad, isn't it, really?
Well, oh no, my old bushcrafting mentor, so upset. Yes, good God, Obi-Wan has turned on Anakin.
Yeah. So there's another... Right. In October 1870, there was an incident that I can't fully get my head around, but the gist is that one of Ned's mates gave an indecent letter wrapped in bull testicles to a hawker's wife. The hawker confronted Ned, who played a part in passing the note like a kid in class. Ned punched the hawker in the face and he got sent to prison for 3 months. It's a tale as old as time. You know, a lot of this isn't... You don't need to know a lot of this, but it's all just fucking mental.
But it's delightful. It feels as though every part of that sentence was a crime, you know?
Yeah.
The indecent letter, the bull's testicle, then the assault, you know? Was it all charged under the same offence? That would have been nice.
So.
Yeah.
It would have been like Trump's trial, where it's like one thing, but it's like 34 things that sort of spiraled off it.
Yeah.
Including the hint at the original crime of castrating someone's bull.
Yeah.
So you have sufficient content for the love letter that you were about to send.
Well, I mean...
it's pre-Tinder, remember?
Oh, Catherine,
yes.
please.
No, I just don't know how nice I would find a letter wrapped in bull scrotum.
Well, because like an old actual offence is what is it? It's indecent communications through the mail, right? But not through the male bull scrotum. But that's incredible. So it was just a nice little loophole that they had. Like, we won't put it in the post box. You bring me a little bit of sack. Fantastic. Yeah. Christ, he looks angry.
Vine scrot,
run,
please.
Run! Yeah.
So, shortly after he'd gotten out of prison in 1871, Isaac Wilde Wright, love that. Can I just introduce yourself as Wilde? Hey, I'm Wilde, baby. His job, he was a horsebreaker, obviously.
Yeah.
He arrived in town on a borrowed horse to visit a friend. Ned somehow ended up looking after this horse for 4 days. He was seen riding it, he was pulled over by the police, and he resisted arrest. He pistol whipped to shit the arresting officer and was sentenced to 3 years in prison for receiving a stolen horse.
He used to be such a nice boy.
No.
He wore his green sash and he was the bloody swimming pool attendant. We loved him down the creek.
Oh, look at him on that borrowed horse.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's the equivalent of stealing a car, right?
Well, the horse came out of it better than the bull. So
True.
Think about it from the horse's perspective.
Yes. Where were the horse's balls? It's very important that we know about this. The well-known scrotum thief, Ned Kelly.
I'd love it if that's how it was remembered. None of this touches life.
Yeah, just... Yeah. Well, such is life, but just tattooed on his scrot. You know, like, I can't really read it. Don't worry, I'll stretch it out for you. You know, something like that.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Like a tanuki. There we go. Like the Japanese raccoons with the massive balls. Yes. Yeah, exactly like that. Good analogy. It really added to it, John. Great. Yeah.
Ned Kelly, ball robber. He got out of prison 6 months early for good behaviour, which was unlike him. When he
didn't have a pistol to whip someone with. So.
That's true. They took it off him.
Yeah.
Or bull to castrate.
Yes.
That must be interesting, wasn't it? Giving people their gun back as they leave prison.
I see this is still covered with the blood of my friend. There you go, mate.
Good luck, Chuck.
Don't do that. Yes, don't do that again.
Here's your gun. Here is your veterinarian scalpel for whatever you may want to use that for.
And here's your badge. Now get back to work on the other side of this counter. His brother Jim, he was also in prison for stealing a horse, and his mum had married an American. You know how it goes. So to settle the score with Wildright, Ned decided to have a 20-round boxing match with him, which he won. I will never understand male culture.
Well, you see, you've used the word culture, and that's your first problem there. You know, well, it's time that we fixed up this dispute between us. Oh yeah, what do you reckon? Well, I reckon I'll beat the shit out of you, but we're going to add some maths. Oh, great. That's pretty much it.
Like
Jesus.
when the guy, the football guy, just put a flare up his arsehole in Leicester Square. Is that how you guys enjoy yourself? Is that?
Let's put it this way: the guy who did that, the guy who literally in a public place took a huge and frankly explosive phallic object and jammed it up his arsehole, is almost certainly a homophobe who's never done anything other than missionary, right? And I mean, I say missionary, she won't have wanted to look at him. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, so in a real way, no. That's what happens when you have no idea how to fucking entertain yourself, you know? And one day, I'm going to make a mark on the world. And as it turns out, Uranus. Incredible.
And
but the next time you're stuck on a lifeboat in the middle of the Atlantic, you'd be gagging for that guy to be there.
Oh, straight up.
Where's arsehole flare man now when I really need him?
It's a shame he wasn't Italian. He could have been a Roman candle. Oh, well.
Hey-o.
I don't give a fuck. I let all my children go into the bush with strange men.
Rectal candle, more like.
I've got so many kids, it really doesn't matter. He did manage to get a legit job at a sawmill, but don't worry, he also joined a band of bush larrikins, which makes him sound
yes.
Kind of, hey.
Yep. That was a term that gets used for what they really mean is cunts who smile. Larrikins. No, it's great. Especially at the time. There was a gang in Sydney called the Push, who, if you read about them, their main thing was, they had mirrors on their shoes so they could look up women's skirts. Isn't that funny? Incidentally, if you didn't find it funny, they could beat the living shit out of you. Like, oh, great. What characters? What larrikins? Yeah.
It's very like boys will be boys.
Well,
Boys will attach fibre optic lenses to their toe caps so they can look up skirts. Boys will be boys.
Yeah, I mean, larrikin's meant to be like Australian sort of, it's meant to be the spirit of Australia, like it's a working class thing. But no, when criminals do it, all that pretty much means is, we're doing what dumb fucks think is funny. Anyway, then I shot that baby. Ha! Got him! Prank! Got him! Yeah.
Yeah, it's meant to be cheeky. It's like a cheeky chappy, isn't it, a larrikin?
Yeah.
But these guys stole horses.
Oh, wacky prank. Wacky. Yeah. Got him again.
Which also, you've just been to prison for stealing one horse. Ned claims that they stole around 280 horses.
Sick joke. Can't count that high. Yeah.
I think he meant 28 horses.
Yeah. Well, he used to be able to count to 20, but that was the round in which all the maths was knocked out of him. Also, just quietly, I might be wrong about the history of pugilism here, but 20 rounds of a boxing match, right, at this time of history is, I'm just going to say, and someone can correct me about this if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain is a real pussy move, because bare knuckle boxing had infinite rounds at the time. That's what they were doing on the docks down in New York. To literally go, I'm tremendously angry with you because I went to jail. Anyway, 20 rounds and gloves is frankly deeply civilized.
It is. I think that there's a bunch of pictures of him, like professional pictures taken.
I
think it was more of a,
Yeah, it's a show.
Clean.
Where, Ned Kelly, the Jake Paul of Australia. There we go.
Yeah. It's all just good fun.
Yeah, so enjoyable. God. Let's put it this way. There shouldn't be a world in which Mike Tyson and anyone else are mentioned in the same sentence, and you think, gee, Mike Tyson seems like a much nicer person than this guy.
And yet.
Yeah, and yes.
So I've written here in September 1977, but I think I meant to write 1877.
I think you did.
No. That Australia's a new country. It happened in 1977.
There was just a
We
really
had just
weird...
made Picnic at Hanging Rock. And it was a seminal time.
It's just like a really odd time blip. But
Yeah.
September 1877, he was arrested for riding over a footpath whilst drunk on a horse. He basically got a DUI. He ended up in a fight with 4 police officers the following day who were trying to escort him to court. A scuffle in which Ned's testicles were grabbed. A police officer called Fitzpatrick was knocked to the ground, and Ned ended up with a fine for being drunk and disorderly, just like his papa.
They were just trying to get the letters. That's all they were doing.
Yes. Are they on your testicles?
Yeah, come on now.
No.
You know that guy online who does the whole "This is democracy manifest"? You seen that?
Yeah.
He's Australian, right? I've made that up.
He's tremendously Australian. He is from Queensland.
Because he just say in that video at one point, "Get your hands off my penis."
Get your hand off my penis! This is the bloke who got me on the penis, people! Oh, yes.
Maybe I didn't realise this. Maybe he was quoting Ned, who also said at the time, "Get your hands off my penis, mate."
What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
That's one of my favourite videos I've ever seen.
It's so good.
It's
good.
excellent. Yeah.
And it's funny when you realise, I think he was a credit card fraudster, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't.
Was he not?
He was a dine and dasher and had been a minor criminal, but the reason all of those cops are there is they thought he was one of Interpol's most wanted. They thought he was a massive credit card fraudster. That's why the press was there. No, he was just a local petty criminal who had done some amateur theatrics, and so when he saw all the cameras, he went, "Yeah, all right, show you something."
Get your hand off my penis!
You'll be delighted to know that he has a wine brand. This is genuinely the case.
Wow.
Yep, rejoicing in the name, "Get your hand off my Pinot." So.
Oh,
yes.
I love him.
Makes a comfortable living, that fellow. He seems all right.
Does he still dine and dash?
I don't think he can dash any further, no. But he loves his succulent Chinese meals.
And he makes succulent Australian wine.
A few months later, after his DUI, in April 1878, the police, including Fitzpatrick of testicle grabbing fame, turned up to the Kellys' house to arrest Ned's brother Dan. Ellen kept Fitzpatrick chatting for a while whilst Dan turned up, because Dan was out, so Dan came home, and he was like, "Come on, can I at least finish my tea before I get arrested?" So the police were like, "Yeah, sure, I'll allow this obvious trap to happen," and stood there whilst he finished his dinner. Ned rushed in, shooting and missing. Ellen hits him in the face with a fire shovel. More shots are fired. Fitzpatrick takes one in the wrist, passes out when he comes to. Ned had made him remove the bullet, and Ellen had dressed the wound. Fitzpatrick was told to leave, but they were like, "Lie about what happened here," and he was like, "Sure." And then he left, and then he didn't lie about it because he's the police.
Yep.
Ellen was arrested and sentenced to 3 years in prison for being an accessory to attempted murder, which was considered harsh because she was nursing a baby at the time. I don't know if the baby...
Well, that's the only reason that she didn't get her own gun and shoot him.
Yeah.
Also, Ned Kelly, everybody. Amazing. Yeah. An Australian icon. You have one job. There's one person in the room, not directly related to you. Shoot him. Whoops.
Got him in the
You're
hand.
still pissed from being on the footpath, you fucking idiot. God.
Ned and his brother Dan did the only thing that one can do after trying to kill a police officer, and they went into hiding with a couple of mates in the Wombat Ranges, of course. The police were sent out to find them, but unfortunately for them, the Kellys found out. Unfortunately for them, the Kellys found them first and shot them in dramatic scenes. One of the police officers escaped to tell the tale, and an £800 bounty was put on their heads, increasing to £2,000, which is a metric fuck ton in the time. In December 1878, they decided to raise funds by quietly holding up a bank overnight in Euroa, taking 14 hostages. Luckily, one of them was a hawker who gave them some new clothes, so that was nice. they went out to cut the telegraph lines in the morning. They got caught up in a hunting party and thought, fuck it, we'll have them as hostages as well, taking the total number of hostages to 37. It's so many people. There are only 4 of them.
I feel like this is decreasing the penalty we're going to get. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Because the more this is happening, like anyone who's ever played Grand Theft Auto is they're going, I think we're up to 5 stars by now. Oh, shit.
At a certain point, you kind of top out, don't you? And there's only so much that they can do to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God.
And I'll let you decide through this next paragraph at what point they decided that. The Kelly gang slipped away. The police were pissed, obviously, arrested and charging sympathisers who'd helped them along the way. Police and soldiers were deployed to guard banks. Nevertheless, the Kellys took some police hostage, stole their uniforms, like they were in Hitman, held up another bank, burnt some mortgage documents to help the poor. The reward for the capture went up to £8,000. A year into them being on the run, they managed to do this for a really long time. It was like 18 months, I think. But a year into them being on the run and not getting caught, the gang had made themselves bulletproof armour. And if you Google it looks like, is it Count Buckethead?
Binface these
Binface.
days,
Yeah, it looks a bit like that. It's ridiculous.
Old Tin Can Ned, yes. That's one of the...
like Bender from Futurama.
Worse.
It looks like a crayon drawing of Bender from Futurama. It looks remarkably like an idiot has gone, what keeps bullets out? Metal.
Mm-hmm.
What's that? A bin. I'll put it on myself and cut a little ridge that I can see through. This does mean that a bit later I'm certain Catherine's going to get to my favourite element of the whole Ned Kelly mythos. Can't wait.
Well, yeah, I think they made it out of
the story's mental. It's like they keep hold my drinking themselves. Do you know what I mean? Like, this, like they're challenging each other to escalate this insane sequence of criminal events. It's just as absolutely far as they could possibly go.
Yeah, but he's a real great guy, Aidan. He's a man of the people.
He's a folk hero.
But also, I love the joy of no one will find us. We've got 35 hostages. No one will find us. We've basically got the population of a small Australian town at the time, just with us at all times. No one will find us.
No.
We've got 4 dozen people, and we're dressed like Iron Man when he comes out of that cave, having made himself a crude Iron Man suit.
Yeah, and Ned's still wearing the sash. You know,
no, he is.
Every time we're near a billabong, we're very safe.
The thing is, you joke, but genuinely, he was wearing the sash.
Yes, he's a fucking idiot.
He's always wearing the sash. That's like when he peaked. He peaked in primary school with the sash. Wearing it under his homemade armour.
It's like wearing those. It's like wearing the swimming trunks you had when you were 12. That's got all the badges for how far you swam on them. You know, like 25 meters, 50 meters, 75 meters, 100 meters.
Yeah.
But you're still wearing a 12-year-old's trunks as like a grown man.
Yeah. Or I don't know, man. Telling people about your GCSEs when you're in your 30s. Who gives a fuck, man?
Yeah. Still on my CV, Kath. They're still on my CV.
Oh, you got
I'm
a
not
C
taking
in
them off
art,
ever.
did you? Well done, mate.
You got a D in technology. It's staying on the curriculum vitae till I die.
I love that technology was at my school. Like we did the one. It was in paper. It was just folding paper. That was technology when I was at school.
I grew up in the 90s. Like, this is like the dawn of the age of computers.
Yeah.
And yet, like, technology is like make a birdhouse. Like,
yeah.
Can I make a digital birdhouse? No, just an old-fashioned birdhouse.
Oh, this is quite nice. We didn't do any of that when I was at school. We did digital media. We learned how to use Photoshop. That was it.
How are Australia ahead of us on this?
Well, it was the last time. The last time Australia was. I mean, what they should have taught us, if you're going to use fucking Photoshop, they should have taught us how to, come to terms with the fact you have to pay a subscription fee every fucking year, and I only use it to make my Edinburgh Fringe posters. That's once bastards. They're the real fucking criminals in this episode. That's right, Adobe, the Ned Kelly of graphic design.
I'm sure there will be other ways to get Photoshop, though. You know,
Well, there used to be. Yeah, there
is a cheap online one. Well, it's sort of like a Photoshop knockoff called Pixlr Editor.
Yes.
It's quite good. I often use that for stuff.
There's one called GIMP, which is exactly as good as that name implies.
I had GIMP, and then they started asking me for money, and I got rid of them.
The GIMP doesn't get to make demands.
No.
That's not what they're for.
I think we're going to have to make an Edinburgh poster while you go and get the GIMP.
Release the GIMP.
How do you have to pay a subscription fee to GIMP? You don't really want GIMP.com showing up on your bank.
No, the GIMP pays a subscription fee to you. That's how it works.
That's how GIMP works.
They communicate their desires, and the money goes one way.
Ned Kelly, what do you do when you've taken a town hostage and you've robbed a bunch of banks and you're dressed as a police officer and you've shot a bunch of police and you've stolen horses? Well, they went to stay with Aaron Sherritt, who was a former Greta mob member, who it transpired was a police spy, which obviously resulted in him getting shot. The police were aware, and the Kellys' plan for escape was to basically take the whole town hostage. I think it's like 3 or 4 buildings, 62 hostages. And they're like, what we'll do is the police are going to come on a train, we'll derail the train when they come, and kill them all. Unfortunately, it took fucking ages for the train to arrive. So Ned and company just sent some hostages home. Fuck it. At around 3 a.m, the police arrived and the anticipated shootout happened. Ned was shot in his left hand and arm and in his right foot. He tapped out of the shootout at about 7 a.m, being found to have 28 wounds. And as stated before, he was wearing his green sash under his armour as they found him. And the fighting stopped at about 10 a.m.
Can I do the great detail of the armour? This ever since we found this out when I was 10, this has amused me. So the armour exists in the following form, right? It absolutely covers the head. It extends beyond the head, right?
It's huge.
It covers the shoulders. It covers the torso. It sort of goes a little bit down. There's no leg armour, and that's where they shot him. Literally just hang on. What's going? Ting, ting, ting. Ow! Yeah, more of that, I think.
Go for the legs.
Bang! Yeah.
Get the dogs.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
His armour looks so much like, the knight in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
It looks so much like that. It's unbelievable.
On the 19th of October, 1880, Ned was convicted of the murder of 3 police officers and was sentenced to death by hanging by Sir Redmond Barry, who said, "May God have mercy on your soul." To which Ned replied, "I'll go a little further than that and say I will see you there where I go. See you in hell," basically. On the 11th of November, 1880, at 10 a.m, Ned was hung at the Old Melbourne jail. It is said that his last words were, "Such is life." The judge who had sentenced him to death died 12 days later of natural causes. So he actually did see him in hell.
But such is life. No, only your life.
Yeah.
It's only his life that is. No one else has played hostage Jenga, seeing how high they can make the thing go before the sort of house of cards collapses before them after holding an entire town hostage.
Yeah.
Such is only his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Such is life. Such is life slogan when I lived in Australia was notorious because it was a belly tattoo possessed by a local footballer by the name of Ben Cousins, who it was a real case of a Such is life guy because he was the guy who taught us all the word meth addict. So he was the fellow who, once he'd come back from rehab, the commentators, when he got tackled, were heard to go, "Oh, there's a man who's going to need some ice." So,
Hey-o.
But yeah, with his, I remember him with his Such is life thing. It's like, oh, buddy, no. This kind of wild colonial boy shit is not the same thing. You're a highly powered, highly paid athlete with a drug problem.
Yeah.
You aren't the same as a poverty-stricken Irish immigrant who's gone, actually, no, fuck it, the cops keep bothering me. Fuck you. It's a slightly different thing. I have more sympathy, weirdly, with the one who did the massacre. Yeah.
I don't know if you're about to say this, Kath, or maybe it's something John could answer. So, am I right in thinking Ned Kelly, like Jesse James in America, is kind of valorized by a certain section of the population?
Yes.
He's seen as a working class rebel hero.
Yep.
Yes.
Beloved of the Bogans. He absolutely he is old Ned Kelly. You can see, like when people say Wild Colonial Boy, that's a name for a different bushranger, but people always think of Ned Kelly. That's the bushranger they're thinking of. That's, you'll have outlaw motorcycle gangs that might have Kelly's armor on them, or there'll be art of Ned Kelly. It's still an icon.
Is there a political context for that? Because I know, I sort of alluded to it earlier, the Civil War or Reconstruction is the context for why Southerners came to valorize Jesse James, this guy who was sticking it to the North, who was trying to impose their ways in the South. Is there an Australian political context for why got his name now.
Ned Kelly.
Ned Kelly. Why Ned Kelly becomes the sort of folk hero he does?
Oh, he's just an anti-establishment guy, and we occasionally love that. That's all. And various sections, like on the political spectrum in Australia, could get excited by Ned Kelly. I actually can't. No, it hasn't been really. Someone can point out if I'm wrong, but it hasn't, in my seeing, been completely co-opted by any side.
Interesting.
It's more likely that you're going to see him on the side of somebody's ute, but that guy with his ute, and his mullet, you actually don't know if that guy's intolerant. He'll fucking tell you if he is, but nevertheless, Australia, despite what the internet makes it look like, is still not America.
No.
And it's not the southern states of the US. You're more likely to meet people who just don't know anything because they live a long way away and are like, oh yeah, oh that isn't what I've heard. Oh really? People tend to actually listen.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, though, when people say ugly shit there, they really say it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I'm aware of Pauline Hanson, your
yes,
Antipodean equivalent of Nigel Farage.
Yeah, but she's only ever had one seat in Parliament. And she used that to come in wearing a burqa and then took it off in a weird protest of whatever. It never makes sense. She's an idiot,
Yeah, she did that for reasons.
Yeah,
no one's entirely sure.
Yeah, and then we put her on Dancing with the Stars because it's almost like our media's run by, conservative fuckwits who just care about money,
I'm a big fan of the film Chopper, starring Eric Bana.
Are you?
You see,
it's actually over here somewhere.
I really like it a lot. It's quite funny.
So you took him to the hospital?
No, I didn't take him to the bloody hospital. Now tell me this, right? Why would I shoot a bloke, bang, and then put him in the bloody car and whiz him off to the hospital at 100 miles an hour? It defeats the purpose of having shot him in the first place.
Yeah. It's quite an odd film because he's quite...
He's a real larrikin, that Chopper Reed, a real larrikin.
Well, he is. And I was sort of going to say, there must be some kind of... Chopper's obviously real life criminal. He claimed he was a serial killer, but actually he only ever got convicted for one murder, I think.
At least.
But there was like a media sensation around it. And I want to ask, I'm guessing he was sort of seen as some kind of modern Ned Kelly figure. Would I be right in inferring that?
He wanted very much to be seen as a modern Ned Kelly figure. No, he was seen as a criminal fucknut who wrote books that were enjoyed by some people. He single-handedly sabotaged the career of the TV presenter Elle McFeast, who when she finally got a primetime TV show, the first guest that she had was Chopper Reed. And it being the 90s, her dealing with a drunken, violent, confirmed standover man, assault artist, and, self-claimed torturer, right? She was blamed for it. She lost her show. He got to be on TV again a bunch of times.
That's mad.
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a, it's horrible. She's, she's got her career on radio now. But, I remember at the time it really fucked her up. And he's mostly remembered these days. Some people still have the books. The movie was a thing. But he's mostly known in Australia because the comedian Ronnie Johns does an impression of him. And even though Chopper's dead, Ronnie Johns, as Chopper, has made a lot more money than that guy ever did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, everybody, it's the Uncle Chop Chop. You know, he still. I mean, one other thing about him is Chopper Reed used to tour with comedians, and he'd get the comics to do the warm up for them, and it's a real who's who of who had that job, and everybody was fired for being too funny. You know, almost like they were working on a tight five while he was, busy holding a blowtorch to somebody's feet. Anyway. Well, did you hear the one about the guy? Why did the chicken cross the road? Because fuck you, you snitch. Yeah, good one. Write it down. Yeah.
Anyway,
On that,
Kath, back to you.
Ned Kelly,
Sorry.
would you? Knowing what we know now.
I'll let you go first, John, as the esteemed guest of this here pod.
Oh, you're delightful. Yeah, no, I mean, he's a fucking tiresome drunk and a murderer. Like the bet. What do you? There's nothing good. Nothing good's going to happen. You never get a moment alone with him. He's not a good partner. There's always, between 12 and 34 other people around, most of whom don't want to be there. No. You don't want them to be there either. God, the kinkiest bit of play that he has is dressing up as a dustbin or a cop. It's no fun. Occasionally you look at the sash and go, get over it, Think, fuck, I wish I'd drowned that day. No, he wouldn't. I don't think he'd be a very giving lover in any way.
Okay, we've got a no from John. Aidan?
Yeah.
Just, maybe, does the suit count as protection?
I mean,
not on the legs.
If he comes into it rather than you, sure.
Yeah, it doesn't cover below the waist, does it? So actually, like, it's he's got the wrong part. He's got the condom on the wrong part of him, the big metal condom.
I mean, I hate to tell you, Aidan, but if he goes at you with any degree of vigour, the metal sheets are going to slash your back up, son.
And for that reason, I'm saying no.
It's going to be like being buggered by a shit.
Only that reason. Only that reason. His life sounds very wholesome, but I don't want my lower spine cheese grated by some weird Bender from Futurama costume that he's wearing. What about you, Kath?
Again, I think it's going to be 3 no's. He's good looking, I'll give him that, but he seems quite chaotic, and I just don't think I could be bothered with it. I think he'd annoy me a bit. I'd be like, just fucking put that gun down. And what's going on with your mad fucking family? Why is your mum here? Nursing a baby.
And also, there's no town you could move to together where the population would be too big for him to hold hostage.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. You could say, we're moving to Newcastle. 400,000 people live there. He's thinking, I could do it.
Yeah.
I could hold all of them hostage. I love people hostage easily.
I love the way you clearly are thinking of UK Newcastle and not the Newcastle in Australia, which still has a population of 12. Nevertheless.
Well, I had to escalate the number, so it had to be the Tyneside Newcastle.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you'd be wondering if you were the hostage.
Yep. There we go. Actually, that'd be something. If he just combined the looks momentarily, because you could go out for a nice romantic night in the creek and just be like, wear the armour. That's the end of him.
Or, I guess you could be like, just don't speak to me. You're going to come to my house. Shut the fuck up. Shut up. No. Shut up.
Yeah. But, walk here. Don't bring a horse.
No.
You know what you like.
Put that piglet down. Where did that come from?
Yeah, pretty much if Ned Kelly wasn't Ned Kelly, would have been fine.
Yeah, if he was somebody else, I would.
It's the whole Ned Kelly aspect that puts me off Ned Kelly.
Yeah.
Have you thought that the problem might be your rotten personality?
Yeah.
Oh, well, such is life.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got magnificent hair, but that can only take you so far. And when they shave you, also his skull went missing for a while after he was buried, and then they found it, and someone had stolen it, and his death was as chaotic as his life. I'll be honest with you, but we simply do not have time. So with that, Ned Kelly does not make it onto the Bayeux Tap Tapestry. Such is life indeed. So we will ghost him. Thank you so much for being a guest, John. Where can people find you? What are your handles?
You can find me as Robotron, ROBBOTRON, on most social media platforms. If that doesn't do it for you, thejohnrobertson.com will do it. And he doesn't need to be on your tapestries, on the mud flaps of every dickhead I went to school with.
Yes. Historical or not, we are on YouTube now. If you want to have a watch of our videos, we'll put. I mean, they're varying degrees of quality, but we're striving to get better, and I think that's what counts. We are at Hot Not Pod on everything. So
Linktree, Hot Not Pod Linktree is a good thing because it sends you to all the links, including our Acast premium subscription thing where you can pay £2 a month to get extra episodes. And why wouldn't you? After
the bonus
the last delightful hour that you've listened to, yes.
If you want to listen to a cheeky bonus bang, get us on there. Anyway. Spread the word, spread your legs, and remember, it's not what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside of the coffin that counts. Goodbye!
Goodbye.
You have been listening to Historical Hot or Not with me, Catherine Mather, and Aidan McCaffrey. Theme song by David Eagle, and our logo is by Richard Todd. You can head over to co-b.com/hotnotpod. Over there we've got some Hot Not merch. We are currently selling branded condoms and branded badges. Get over there while stocks last.
Just a moment, you just assured me that I could speak.
Sit down inside the car. We're not assuring anything. We're under arrest.
Look, I'm under what? Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest. Have a look at the headlock here. See that chap over there? Get your hand off my penis! This is the bloke who got me on the penis before.
Get some cups.
Why did you do this to me?
Hop in the car. Get some cups.
For what reason? What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? Oh, that's a nice headlock, sir. Oh, yes. I see that you know your judo well. Good one. And you, sir, are you waiting to receive my limp penis? Now, get your hands off there.
No, we've only got one cup.
Ta-ta and farewell.
That's all right. Just get him in the car.
One cup, look. They even broke